Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay Ferrier, CafeMom's election correspondent, and right now I'm here with Republican presidential candidate Rick Santorum. Rick, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be with you. It's great to be on CafeMom.
Well, one of the things that moms are most concerned with right now is that they feel like people on Capitol Hill aren't really listening to them or that they're misunderstood. What do you have to say to those moms?
Well, it's funny because I wrote a book about 7 years ago called It Takes a Family. And in that book, what I talked about was the importance of public officials focusing on public policy related to the family. And what better place to understand how public policy affects families than talking to mothers. And so one of the things I talked about in the book was that we need to engage moms. It's funny, my wife and I have 7 children. And one of the things that happens to my wife, who's a lawyer and a nurse, was when you get involved in a conversation in the political world, they would ask my wife, well, what do you do? And she goes, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. All of a sudden, the conversation stops, as if she has no interest in what's going on in the world and she has any opinions on how to affect public policy. And I think that seems to be the attitude that, well, you're a mom, you're at home, you really don't care, or you have nothing to contribute. And in fact, just the opposite, because they're on the front line. They're the ones who are raising children and dealing with the education system, dealing with the economy and trying to make budgets balance. And there's a lot to be learned. And I talked about that in my book, that we should be engaging mothers in this challenge because they do what the government doesn't do well, which is raise their children and balance budgets and get the economy going.
So the bottom line that I think every mom out there wants to know, if you're elected president, what kinds of changes would they see in their day-to-day lives?
Well, first, I really believe that our government has to focus in on family issues, on supporting the institution of marriage, for example. We really don't do anything in the federal government by the way of supporting marriage, supporting the tax code. We still have marriage penalties in the tax code. We don't do anything with respect to having a public discussion of the vital role that families play, marriage plays, mothers and fathers play, and how we can support them in a much more public way and reinforcing the values that are important to this country. And if you look at marriage today, I mean, you have a growing number of people that are raising children in the most difficult of positions, single motherhood, and we've sort of made fatherhood almost optional, with the government role of almost dissuading fathers from taking responsibility for their children. We need to have a national discussion, and I think it's one of the things that's underestimated about a president, what he can do, is to really start a national discussion on how we can, reknit the family back together, work on issues like divorce, and trying to build healthy relationships and healthy families, and make that a real priority.
So given that so many moms out there are feeling very anti-partisan right now, are looking very fairly at all of the candidates, how do you appeal to moms who maybe aren't as conservative as you, but are willing to look at you as a potential president?
Well, I would just say that supporting families, supporting marriage, supporting limited government, and trying to get this economy growing, but in the private sector, are things that are fairly broad consensuses in America. And if you look at the program I put together, the economic program I put together, it really is sort of anti-partisan. Unlike a lot of the programs that people put out there, which are big tax cuts, and particularly tax cuts for higher income individuals, flat taxes, things like that, that are highly regressive. I put out a plan that lowers rates, but not as low as everybody else. I have 2 rates, a 10% rate and a 28% rate. So higher income people will pay more and lower income people will pay less. I don't think fundamentally, most Americans don't have a problem with that. And I think most mothers don't have a problem with that. That seems to be fair. And what I've done, though, is try to stimulate an area of the economy that's really important, and that is the manufacturing sector. There are a lot of moms out there who either work or their husbands work in blue-collar jobs. They're not college educated, and the unemployment rate among college educated in America is 4.4%. Among those who are non-college educated, it's over 10%. And someone needs to put the plan together an economic plan that's going to help those folks particularly be able to rise. Because if they do, then the whole economy will be helped too. I mean, poverty rates will go down, people will be able to move up, and they will have something that's really important, which is, more Americans will have hope that they can get a better job, provide for their families, not have to work 2 jobs, or maybe even have one of the parents be able to stay at home. Those are the kinds of things that I think people are looking for.
Are you getting good advice on the campaign trail from your kids?
Oh, yeah. In fact, my daughter's here. She traveled with me this week to Iowa. As I mentioned, we have 7. Our oldest is 20, and she's taking a semester off college to work on the campaign, which is a twofer for me because I don't have to pay college tuition this semester, and I get a free labor. So it's a win for the campaign, a win for my checkbook. So.
Well, Senator Santorum, I really appreciate you joining us and answering a few questions.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
You guys can learn more about Senator Santorum and the other candidates at CafeMom.com.